יברכני ומגלי צדק למען שמו, גם כי אלך בגצל מוות, לא ידע רע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה. טוב וחסד ידפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
The words of the 23rd Psalm, a Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters, revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you so much to all of you for coming out. Thank you to all of you on the internet for tuning in this morning. My name is Rabbi Aníbal Mas from Congregation Sharet Tzedek, and it's my great honor to be here leading the funeral services for Evelyn Gurvey, Zichronah Libracha, of blessed memory. She was also known among the Jewish people by her Hebrew name, Chava Bat Chaim HaKohen Minyan, Zichronah Libracha. She was the daughter of Jaime and Merle of blessed memory, the sister of Mindy Cantor, the wife of the late Harry Gurvey of blessed memory, the mother of Martin and Brenda Gurvey, Gayla Schwartz and Ken, Alan Gurvey and Nancy. The grandmother, Farron and Roy, Marley and Kyle, Harlan and Amanda, Raina and Baz, Lisa, Carly, Ali and Lindsay, Hudson and Harper. The great-grandmother of Asher, Maya, Max, Madison, Benson, and Oliver. Evelyn passed away on Thursday, May 18th, peacefully, at the age of 91, just 2.5 weeks short of her 92nd birthday. The masters of Kabbalah teach that God's nature is to give. The Creator is a giver. And we were created as receivers of God's blessings. But at the same time, we are image of God, and our goal lies in developing God-like values and becoming givers as well. We should all learn to give for the sake of giving and to receive in order to give to others. Because when we give, we are like our Creator. For many, this is something extremely difficult to achieve. But it's something that Evelyn Gurvey excelled at. She she was a giver. And as such, she accomplished a spiritual status that not too many people can attain. Evelyn was known to all by her thoughtfulness, quick wit, fun-loving personality, unconditional love, unwavering support, and never-ending optimism, always seeing the best on people. Evelyn also taught by example about the importance of serving others. She did great volunteer work, showing us how the best gift you can give to others is the gift of yourself, the gift of your time, the gift of your talents. She volunteered at the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra's Women's Committee, where she was very involved, from helping organizing fundraisers to coordinate other volunteers. She also dedicated countless hours of her life volunteering within the Jewish community. At the WEN sector, she helped delivering Meals on Wheels, picking up people to bring them to and from events, coordinating schedules, etc. Week after week, she wouldn't rest until she was sure that every member was accounted for and had a vehicle to come. She volunteered at the Charizet Leisure Group, organizing multiple speakers, and being sure the lectures went smoothly. She also volunteered at the National Council of Jewish Women. In a day and age where time is a precious commodity, it's important to acknowledge and to thank volunteers like Evelyn, who took time from her busy life to help others. Today we are lucky that some members of Evelyn's family have agreed to eulogize her and to share with us more memories so we can have a better understanding of the scope of her life. And we can have a better understanding of the impact that Evelyn Gurvey is leaving behind in this world. So, to begin the process to eulogize Evelyn, I would like to invite Alan Gurvey to come to the microphone.
"18 years ago, when my dad passed away, I told my mom I wanted to speak at the service, but I didn't know how I was going to be able to do it without falling apart. She calmly said to me, 'Daddy will be with you every step of the way. He will help you and guide you through your words when you speak.' Well, Mom, I need you now to help me and guide me through this, because you know how hard this is for me. I had such a special relationship with my mom. She was my inspiration, my rock, my mentor. She guided me through life, taught me how to be optimistic in the face of adversity, to accept things as they are, and above all, to care about others by doing little acts of thoughtfulness. There weren't any neighbors on Elm Street who didn't get a fresh marble cake when they moved in. If I am thoughtful and caring, it is from her example and what she instilled in me. My mom had an amazing ability to make people feel good with words of encouragement, jokes, understanding, support, unconditional love, and marble cakes, cheesecakes, torts, and shortbread cookies. Growing up, I can still remember coming home from school only to smell fresh baking or oven-fried chicken or roast and potatoes or her famous meatballs. There was always an amazing smell that made me so happy when I got home. She not only made people feel good with her cooking and baking, but for me, she always made me feel good with her words. I remember when I was 21 years old, living in Chicago, it was New Year's Eve, and I had had a little too much to drink. My friends sent me home in a cab. The next day, a little hungover, I called my parents to wish them a Happy New Year, and I told them about what had happened the night before. My mom calmly and lovingly said, "Oh, I could tell you a couple of stories when your dad had too much to drink and he made a fool of himself. But we got through it. He's still your loving dad, and life has gone on." Somehow, it made me feel so good to know that my mom wasn't judging me or criticizing me, just lovingly making light of a situation that, within the grand scheme of things, just wasn't that important. My mom was a master with words and philosophical sayings. When I was upset and taking things too much to heart, which I have a history of, she would always say, "There will always be an England." She would explain that whatever happened, it just wasn't that big a deal, because there would always be an England, a phrase used by Churchill during the war, meaning to stay calm and carry on. It wasn't long ago when I was talking to my mom and I said, "I feel bad, Mom, that I don't live closer to you." She immediately responded, "Don't be silly. Daddy and I have always been so proud of you for what you've become and how you have always been so independent, making your own life for yourself. You don't need to be here to be close to me in my heart." She then said, "And besides, we've had such a better life with you living in Los Angeles, since we've always had a free place to stay." She said, "I wouldn't trade any of the experiences of our times together in LA and the trip to Las Vegas for anything in the world." Yes, my philosophy degree was genetic. My mom was philosophical in almost everything she said. She was so quick-witted. She had a saying for almost everything, and they were always positive and encouraging. I remember once, or maybe twice, complaining that I had spent money unwisely, which prompted her to say, "So you'll save somewhere else." And when life was stressful, she would say, "We take one day at a time." She was my greatest fan of my radio show, listening to every show from the show's inception 10 years ago until the last couple of years when Alexa decided to drop KABC from its platform. She loved being a guest on the show. She had so much fun on the show, which occurred often, especially when she was in Los Angeles. I remember one show a few years back when my co-host at the time, Carrie Kasem, who loved my mom so much, wanted to get her a date. She asked men to call into the show so that my mom could meet them. She described my mom as this charming, beautiful, witty, funny, smart woman. And then she said, "I've told our listeners about you, Evelyn. Now you tell us what you're looking for in a man." And without missing a beat, my mom said, "Breathing." My mom shared the mic with some legal luminaries, including people like Alan Dershowitz, Lisa Bloom, and constitutional law expert Erwin Chemerinsky. She held her own with all of the scholars just because she had this knack for cutting through things with quips, funny remarks, and insightful comments. On our Mother's Day show last year, we talked about the role of a mother, and my mom was on the phone co-hosting the show with me from Toronto. After the show, it prompted one listener to write into the show the following: "I was very touched by your wonderful mother's words. What a doting, loving personification of the consummate Jewish mother." As much as my mom loved her expressions and words of encouragement, she also loved meeting people and kibitzing with everyone. Whether it was the valet attendant at a restaurant or Tori Spelling at my kids' gym class, she was usually the life of the party, even if that was not her intention. Her dancing at simchas is legendary. Singing at shul was her passion, and general comic relief was her nature. She loved to travel. She enjoyed so many years of traveling with my dad, as she would always say, "He's such a different guy when we're on a trip." Aren't we all? They loved to travel together, and then after my dad passed away, my mom in her mid-70s to her late 80s went on trip after trip after trip on her own. There were years when she went on 3 different cruises within a couple of months from the Port of Los Angeles. Yes, all by herself. Nancy and I and our kids were lucky enough to travel with my mom on a number of occasions. I remember the Broadway cruise, where she performed on stage excerpts from the musical Pippin. She sang and danced a version of the song, "Magic to Do Just for You." Yes, my mom did her magic for so many people. She was by far the oldest member of the cast on the ship, which prompted one woman to come up to me and say, "She is my idol. I can only wish I could do the things that she does at her age." On that cruise, she had no problem cozying up to Broadway star Audra McDonald, not hesitating to talk to her about her TV show that she watched all the time. I have such a poignant memory of my mom when my family went to Club Med in Mexico, and my mom told us that she was going to enter the dance competition. She found this young Club Med GO who worked there, named Gel Brito, a Brazilian hunk. She started rehearsing with him in the afternoons in an outdoor studio in 85-degree heat. She was 85 herself. I remember forgetting suntan lotion when my family and I were lying on the beach. I walked back to our room and I passed the outdoor studio and saw her working so hard, just her and Gel Brito, sweating and dancing up a storm. I said to my mom, "Do you want to come to the beach?" She looked at me and said, "I'm dancing with Gel." They won the competition. When my mom was 80 years old, I took her on the Queen Mary on a world cruise. There was a ship officer named Terry who fancied my mom. Terry was a very proper gentleman. He came up to me and said, "Would it be okay if I asked your mom to go dancing with me tonight?" I said, "Sure." What my mom didn't know was that I snuck around spying on them for the whole night. At about 1:30 in the morning, I saw him starting to walk her back to her cabin. My heart was pounding. What was I to do? Jump out from behind the plant and say, "What are your intentions, officer?" Fortunately, though, as things unfolded, I saw him give her a little kiss on the cheek and let her walk the rest of the way back to her cabin by herself. There were so many adventures that she went on, with so many stories that follow. She knew how to get the most out of life, and her outgoing, fun-loving personality served her well, always singing in the cruise ship choir or making new friends in the casino. I remember when I was working on a cruise ship in Alaska, my mom and dad came on the cruise, and they were invited to sit at the captain's table. Well, of course, she became best friends with the captain, and he kept inviting them back to sit at his table night after night. Growing up, I remember my mom got up in the wee hours to take me to my hockey practices. She would always drive me to football or baseball or wherever I was going. She just loved watching Martin, Gayla, and I playing our sports and performing in school musicals. A memory that is forever etched in my psyche, and that I still have an indelible, vivid picture of in my mind, occurred on a number of occasions when I was getting up early to catch an early morning flight to go back to college in Rhode Island. It would be 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would be half asleep, walking downstairs from my room, only to see my mom on her hands and knees in the dark in the kitchen after schlepping my huge duffel bag downstairs. She was rearranging things. She would get up before I did, only to be stuffing all of these foil-wrapped foods, labeled, of course, with masking tape, into little nooks and crannies in the bag. She could always get one more package of kugel, cheese muffins, cheese pies, twisters, marble cake, shortbread cookies, her famous heart-shaped Valentine's Day chocolate cake, and other goodies in the bag, even if it was bursting at the seams. There was no tougher cookie than my mom. She taught me so many important lessons in life. Be thoughtful. Be thankful for what you have. Be engaging. Be on time. Always get back to people right away. Follow through with what you start. Don't accept defeat easily. Persevere. Treat people with respect. Be down to earth, or what she would say is Hamish. And importantly, do the things that you don't necessarily want to do, so you will develop discipline. She followed all of her life rules, which was best exemplified with her work as a library supervisor at the university, where she worked until 9:30 at night, and in the winter would have to trudge through about 4 feet of snow to her plugged-in car, braving the 30 below weather to get home. She never complained. One night, she was driving home when her car broke down. Yes, it was 30 below zero, and she was waiting on the street for a tow truck to come. A man stopped and saw her there and said, "Would you like to come into my car to stay warm while you're waiting?" She looked at him and said, "No, I'm good, thank you." My mom was a champion of volunteer work. She probably was most proud of her years of work for the Women's Committee of the Winnipeg Symphony, but she also had a long career working with National Council of Jewish Women, the Leisure Group, Sherazadic Synagogue, and a host of other organizations. And she voluntarily and without ever complaining took such great care of my Zeta Jaime, my Baba Miro, and my dad as they got into their later years. My parents loved opera, symphony, theater, art, and sports. I am so thankful that my mom passed on her interest to her children, exposing us at a young age to music and the arts, and being a shining example of how to appreciate the finer things in life. I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of the TV shows that she was a fan of. For years, she watched The Bachelor, America's Got Talent, American Idol, Deal or No Deal, The Price is Right, and Family Feud. Her two favorites, Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, were hardly ever missed. It always amazed our family how well she did on Jeopardy and how she could solve the puzzles on Wheel of Fortune before everyone else. My mom was so dedicated to Jewish traditions and customs, going to synagogue and doing the right things. She cooked Jewish delicacies, even though she was always jealous of her mother's knishes and balintzes, commenting that she just didn't have the patience to do what Baba Merrill did. My mom made a beautiful Jewish home and loved singing traditional Jewish songs and prayers. She also loved explaining to me meanings of Yiddish phrases. I can still picture the way her face contorted when I asked her what a phrase in Yiddish meant. She wanted to explain it in the most accurate terms, but sometimes it just didn't translate. My mom and dad made a great team, two very different personalities, but with the same dedication to family values. They complemented each other well. I will never forget seeing my mother always going to the door at 10 p.m. to turn the garage lights on for my dad, who was on his way home from work. She was always thinking of him, just as she always put Martin, Gayla, and me first. I will forever remember going to my mailbox at college and getting mail from her almost on a daily basis. Cards, just to say hi, or I'm thinking of you. Newspaper clippings, stickers, and of course, long letters. Her dedication to and her love for her children continued to grow strong with her 10 grandchildren, who she adored. Recently, with 6 great-grandchildren, she had new opportunities to sing Baba Black Sheep, her theme song, Jack and Jill, and other favorites, as she had throughout her grandmother career. It is with profound sadness that my kids, Hudson and Harper, will not continue to experience their Baba's loving, caring, thoughtfulness, unconditional support, passion, unrelenting determination, and sheer fun-loving nature that has always been part of my life. It just makes it now more important for me to take everything that she gave me and have them experience it through me in concert with Nancy and the rest of our Canadian family. Last August, Hudson and Harper were having a blast with their Baba in Niagara Falls, laughing and smiling in the rain, singing "You Gotta Have Heart" at the musical Damn Yankees, and in Toronto at a picnic, playing baseball and softball in the park with her. You should have seen my mom throw the ball and catch the ball. It was truly amazing. After spending 5 days with her, we returned to Los Angeles, and the kids said to me, "We wish Baba could live across the street from us so that we could be with her every day." Well, Hudson and Harper, now Baba will live even closer to you because she will be in your heart forever and ever. Mom, that's a wrap. It was a great run. We had a blast, didn't we? Thank you for making our lives so special. As you always said to me when I was leaving, go careful. I love you forever.
Thank you.
sharing those beautiful memories with all of us. I'd like to invite Mark to come to the microphone to eulogize his mother.
As the eldest, I've known my mom for 65 years, and I'm so thankful she had the chance to be such an important part of my family's life in Winnipeg and then Toronto. We shared every experience and milestone right from the birth of my siblings to our move to Toronto and beyond. It gave Mom so much pleasure and pride to see 4 of her grandchildren get married and enjoy spending time with 6 great-grandchildren. One of the greatest gifts my mom gave to us was a love and appreciation for music and the ability to sing and play instruments. Her grandfather was a cantor, and my mother, her sister, and cousins all inherited this gift, which was passed down to their children. My mom and dad loved classical music and opera and used to go regularly to Minneapolis to hear the Metropolitan Opera. She and my dad were season ticket holders of the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra for many years, and after my dad passed away in 2005, her involvement with the Women's Committee of the WSO gave her much pleasure and good friendships for many years. When Brenda and I moved to Toronto almost 12 years ago, it was a given that Mum would join us. This was not easy for an 81-year-old, but she tried to make the best of it. She was able to drive her car up and down Bathurst Street and attended Zumba classes for a couple of years at the JCC. Again, music helped her out of some of her loneliness in Toronto, and she was proud to sing in the community choir, Reese's Pieces, with Gayla and I for a few years. It amazed us, as her dementia progressed, that she could go up to the piano and play Hungarian Dance No. 5 and Fur Elise by heart for her kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids almost flawlessly. She lit up at any chance to play piano duets and sing with her great-grandchildren. Her number 1 hit was Baba Black Sheep, and the memory of her singing with her youngest grandchild, Madison, who's here with us today, 8 days ago, from her hospital bed, will remain etched in my memory forever. My mom and dad also loved sports, and particularly attending Winnipeg Blue Bomber games. I used to marvel at how Mom would come with me to Bomber games in October when it was freezing outside and never complain about being cold. Mom and Dad went to a few Grey Cups and many Minnesota Twins games over the years. This definitely influenced Alan and my love for playing baseball, hockey, and football, and Mom rarely missed the chance to watch us play. A strong priority for my mom was maintaining her Jewish identity and doing her best to pass it on to her children and grandchildren. Jewish holidays were always a special time for us. Again, after Dad passed away, going to synagogue Saturday mornings was a chance for her to reflect and seek comfort with the regulars at Shara Zedek and later with Gayla at Beth Torah in Toronto. She listened and watched with pride on Rosh Chodesh and high holidays when Gayla and I sang in the shul choir, particularly enjoying Gayla's solos. One of my mother's favorite chants in the Saturday morning service was L'Dor Vador, from generation to generation. The matriarch of our family can rest in peace, knowing that her legacy is well served with her 3 children, 10 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren, with a 7th arriving in a couple of months. There is one thing that any of us that have grandchildren or great-grandchildren can count on. That is, to bring a smile to our face no matter how sad we may be. Our eldest grandchild, Asher, burst into our home after Mom passed away and ran up to me saying, "Zeta, did you hear Baba Evelyn died?" He then went to his cousin Max, and after confirming that he had heard the news, explained to him that she was up in the clouds with Zeta Harry. Yes, the legacy of my mother will live on. Mom, you can rest with the satisfaction that you had a long life well lived. We're going to miss you.
Thank you, Martin. I would like to invite Farron to come to the microphone right now. Eulogize her grandmother.
After a full life of nearly 92 years, today we're saying goodbye to the matriarch of our family, our Baba Evelyn. Our memories of Baba go back to our childhood. Myself, Marley, and Harlan were fortunate to grow up on Waterloo, a short walk from 860 Elm, while the Schwartzes enjoyed many Toronto visits and spending their summers in Winnipeg with us. Baba and Zeta were instrumental in shaping our development in our early years. They were always there for us, from dance recitals to sporting events, to watching us when we had a day off of school, to the endless sleepovers. We can still taste Baba's signature breakfast of hot chocolate with bagels and cheese whiz, and lunches of alphagetti and Kraft dinner. Of course, all cooked out of her kitchen decorated with cows. 860 Elm Street with Baba and Zeta was where so many of our fundamental childhood memories were made. We spent many Shabbat dinners there where Baba's meatballs with a side of Jell-O filled our tummies, and big family barbecues in the summer when our cousins came to visit. The basement with Harry's bar was the perfect place to play restaurant, and Baba and Zeta were our favorite customers. And of course, spending summers at the cottage in West Hawk Lake formed some of our favorite childhood memories. Baba had a love for music. We all have fond memories of her playing the piano and singing everything from nursery rhymes to show tunes. Marley, Harlan, and I were lucky to accompany Baba and Zeta to the symphony on weekend afternoons, where we got to experience her passion for classical music. As we grew older, Baba took a keen interest in our scholastic, professional, and personal accomplishments. When we moved to Toronto to settle down, Baba chose to join us, even though at that point in her life, a move to a new and bigger city was not going to be easy. However, being close to family was always important to her, and we were so fortunate to be able to continue our traditions with Baba in Toronto with our cousins. McDonald's breakfasts, Boston pizza, lunches at United's, and celebrating all the holidays together. Baba was the life of the party and the star at every family wedding, outdancing each one of us. She always made the best partner to walk down the aisle with. One of my most recent memories of Baba was a dinner last summer when Hudson and Harper came to visit. Her grandchildren and great-grandchildren were enamored by her presence. They joked around and sang her usual repertoire of Baba Black Sheep and Old MacDonald. Asher, Max, Maya, Madison, Benson, and Oliver were extremely lucky to have met their great-grandmother, and the legacy of their great-grandparents will live in each one of them. We all know the end for Baba wasn't easy, for her and for us, but we can take comfort in knowing that she's in a better place. Reunited with Zeta Harry, Baba Muriel, and Zeta Jaime, and a multitude of friends and relatives that touched her life in so many ways. We love you, Baba, and we'll miss you.
Thank you, Farron. Now I'd like to invite Hudson Harper to come to the microphone.
We will miss our Baba so much. Although she lived in Toronto and we live in Los Angeles, we talk to her all the time on the phone and on FaceTime. She was so good at coming up with answers and rhyming words. She played baseball in the park with us and hockey in the garage. She was really good. Baba loved to come watch us play baseball and softball and come to the hockey rink to watch us skate. I wish you could see us now. We have gotten really good, and she always told us how great we are. Baba came to our school to read for our class, and she always read to us before we went to sleep. It was so much fun at the cottage when she lay on our bed and read. I was in the Wizard of Oz, and I would sing the songs to her over the phone. Baba loved singing with me, and she knew all the songs. Of course, we loved all the food Baba made for us. Her meatballs were the best, and she was so creative with her yummy shortbread cookies. Last year, we went to Niagara Falls. It started to rain a lot. It was then that Baba taught us what a chela is. She put it on her head, and we couldn't stop laughing. I think Baba was laughing the most. We will miss her laughing so much. We will miss everything about Baba. She was the best Baba ever. We love you, Baba.
Thank you, God. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alan, Martin, Farron, Hudson, and Harper, for sharing with us those beautiful memories and heartfelt words. May the memory of Evelyn be a source of blessing and comfort. And let us all say, I'm going to continue now with the memory of prayer. De'el Malach Rahamim, please rise. El Malach Rahamim, Shochem Bameroimi, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kafei, Hashechina V'ma'alot Kedoshim, Kedoshim Uteorim, Kezoyer Rakim Amazirim, Eden Ishemat, Eden Ishemat, Chava, Bat Chaim HaKoim u'Minyan, She'alecha le'olama, Bahur שאנו מתפללים יד הצקרת נשמתה בגן עדן, בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה לכם ברחמים. יעשתי ראיה בסדר כנם לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים, החיים את נשמתה, אדוני ונחלתה, ותנוח ושלום על משכבה compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Evelyn Gurvey, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. You may be seated. In a few minutes, we are going to proceed in caravan fashion to the Sherzedek Cemetery, located in the corner of Main Street and Armstrong Avenue. There we are going to proceed with the burial and the recitation of the mourner's Kaddish. Immediately after, everybody is invited to participate in the meal of consolation at 139 Tuxedo Avenue, right after the funeral. And the family is going to observe one night of Shiva here in Winnipeg, then they are going to continue at their homes in Toronto and Los Angeles. But if you want to be with them tonight, it's going to be at the same place, 139 Tuxedo Avenue, at 7 p.m. And also, right at 7, right at the beginning of the Shiva, the family will be davening the service and recite Kaddish. So if you're planning on visiting, maybe close to 7 is better, to be sure there is a Minyan. Donations on Evelyn's memory could be made to the WSO or, of course, to the charity of your choice. You can do that in lieu of flowers. Now, we are going to transition to the next stage, which is to accompany the coffin to the hearse and then to go to the cemetery. If you're coming with us to the cemetery, please remember we are going to do it in caravan fashion. Please turn on your four-way flashers. And please remember to stop at red lights and stop signs all along the way. We have a few. So the old days where funeral caravans can go through red lights are over. And even if you can get rid of that ticket, you don't want to go downtown. So please remember to stop at red lights and stop sign along the way. I would like to invite now everyone to rise. Pallbearers are going to assume their place alongside the coffin. Thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you all of you online for tuning in.